Good morning, students. To all of you, in this video, that is in the third part of the video of the chapters external process and changing landforms, I am going to discuss you about the more things regarding landforms, valleys and canyons, floodplains, glacier landforms, wind landforms, and marine landform. These are the topics which we are going to cover next in this chapters. In the first sections, I have discussed you about the formation of different kinds of lands on the basis of external process or on account of external process. And in the second part of video, I have discussed you about the gradations, types of gradations, agents of gradations like weathering, erosions and depositions. Now in the third part of video, that means in this video, we will cover or we will discuss about the riverine landforms, valley and canyons, floodplains, glacier landforms, wind landforms and marine landforms. So let's start riverine landforms. Riverine landforms. Water is one of the strongest agent. Water is the one of the strongest agent of erosions, with rainfall being the main source of water. You know about it very well that rain is the main source of water, and water is one of the strongest agent of erosions, with rainfall being the main source of water. However, portions of this water seeps underground in the form of groundwater, while another portion stays on the surface of the earth as a surface water or river. Underground caves are formed by the actions of groundwater, whereas flowing surface water mainly in the form of rivers. Alters landforms on the surface of the earth. The action of running water is clearly noticeable if we follow a river along its course from its source to the sea. The source or origin of river. The source and origin of river is in the hilly or mountainous region, known as the upper course, where it flows along a path from the mountains to low-lying plains, finally joining the sea or oceans, which is known as the mouth of a river. Which is known as the mouth of rivers. During its journey, rivers performs the task. A river performs the tasks of erosions, deposition, and transportations, as well as formations of several landforms contingent on the volume of water, slope of land, and materials carried by it. So these come under the concept of riverine landforms. Once again, I would like to explain you in order to clear your concept. Riverine landforms. Water is the main or is one of the strongest agents of erosions, with rainfall being the main source of water. So water is an important or strongest agent of the erosions. However, portions of this water seeps underground in the form of groundwaters, whereas another portions stays on the surface of the earth as surface water. Underground waters or underground caves are formed by the actions. Underground caves are formed by the actions of the groundwater, whereas flowing surface water, mainly in the form of flowing surface of waters on the upper surface, is mainly in the form of rivers. Alters landforms on the surface, alters landforms on the surface of the earth. The absence of running water is clearly noticeable if we noticeables if surface of the noticeables if we follow a river along its course from its source to the sea. The source or origin of a river is in hilly or mountainous region known as the upper course, where it follows along a path from the mountains to the low-lying plains, finally joining a river. So during its joining the sea or ocean, which is known as the mouth of a river, sea or oceans, which is known as the mouth of river, during its journey, a river performs the task of erosion, depositions, and transportation, as well as the formation of several landforms. Continent on the volume of water slope of land materials carried by its sector. Now let's study about the valleys and canyons. Valleys and canyons. Valleys in its upper course. That means in upper course, rivers. The river causes erosions of the valley bed more than the sides. So this leads to the formations of valley, which is deep and narrow, with steep sides and hard rocks referred to as gorge or ice-set valley, and canyons in drier areas. The picture is given here in your books. You can see that these are the pictures of valley and canyons, which is formed by the rivers. So a Grand Canyon in Arizona and the Kali Gandaki Gorge in Nepal are the examples of valley and canyons, form of land which is formed by the course of the rivers. A waterfall is formed when a river falls from a great height. When a river falls from a great height, a waterfall is formed from a great height over hard rocks or down a steep valley. Sometimes it encounters extremely hard rock in the riverbed, and at times the softer rock gets eroded easily and the river jumps over. Angeles Falls in Venezuela at a height of 979 meters is the highest waterfall in the world, while the Zaraswapa waterfall is on the river Saravati in Karnataka at 253 meters is the highest waterfall in India. Due to the great force of falling water, waterfalls are often used for generating hydroelectricity. So as a course leaves the higher land, and enters its middle course, its speed decreases. The speed of the river decreases when it enters its middle course. So besides eroding the sides of its valley and transporting the eroded materials, it also deposits some of its load, forming V-shaped valley. When we are from like this, so when it is formed in the shape of V, it is called V-shaped valley. With less steep sides in its middle course, the river reaches the plains where the valley gets widened. Hence, the slope in plains is not as steep as the mountains. The speed of the river also decreases and movement on uneven land surface force the water to move irregularly, leading to the creations of loops or meanders. Creation of loops or meanders. During the middle course, the river performs the work of erosion, transportation as well as repositions. During repositions at times, the meanders acquire a distinctly circular shape while the river outer banks get eroded more, forming river cliffs. Deposition occurs on the inner bank. Let's study about the glacier landforms. Glacier landforms. Glacier landforms precipitations in a higher altitudes usually takes the form of ice which modifies the landscape slowly over a long period of time. Snowfields are formed when snow accumulates on a vast areas of land above the snow line. So a snow line is an altitude above which the ground remains permanently covered in snow. When the snow creeps down the slope of mountains due to the actions of gravity, it forms a river of ice known as a glacier. It forms a river of ice known as a glacier. As a glacier moves it carries rock fragment as well as gravel. With it, a glacier erodes both the bed and the side of its valley at the same time, thus forming a U-shaped valley with a flat base and very steep side. So these kinds of lands are formed in the course of the rivers. Or a glacier often acts like a plow or zigzags piece of sandpaper because it erodes the land beneath it. So the sand, gravel, clay and boulders that it erodes are there after carried by the glaciers either on its surface, within it, or damaged or dragged along at the bottom. So wind landforms. Now our point is wind landforms. Wind landforms. Wind landforms. The role of wind in altering the landscape is particularly noticeable in a desert area where the soil is sandy, dry and loose, and where aridity or dryness is the main feature. So the availability of vegetation and moisture is also extremely low due to the lack of rainfall. As the winds freely blow in the sandy rest, as the wind flow very freely in the sandy areas, they carry loose sand particles which act as the tools in scraping and polishing rock to form different features. So many oases are formed in this way when groundwater comes to the surface, and wind also lifts sand particles and deposits them in a form of areas. So when the wind comes in contact with the harder rocks, the sand blasting. When the wind comes in the contact with the harder rocks, the sand blasting effect of the wind carves the rock into a peculiar looking pillars called the rock pedestal. These are the pictures of rock pedestals which are caused by the strong winds and formations of and leading to the formation of mushroom rock or guars. Numerous examples of these are visible in the Sahara Desert of Africa. Numerous examples of guars and mushroom rocks are there in Sahara Desert. So when the speed of winds decreases, it deposits the sand and particles it was carrying along with it. As more and more sand gets deposited here, a seal of sand known as the sand dune. A hill of sand is known as sand dunes formed. Sand dune is formed. That's much more in the next part of this video. Thank you for listening me. Have a great day to all of you.